Hello, fellow songwriters, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of the How Songs Are Made podcast, where we talk to notable artists about their songwriting process. I'm your host, Trey Xavier, and today I'm going to be talking to my buddy Per Nilsson of SYMMETRY about how they write songs. Today's episode is brought to you by my songwriting course, Complete Rock and Metal Songwriting. It's 15 hours of everything I know about writing songs, everything from writing riffs and transitions to melodies, harmonies, drum parts, vocals, lyrics, and more. And you can find out more about that at the link in the description or at howsongsaremade.com. So this is season 2 of the podcast, and in case you weren't aware, all of the videos that I do as live streams will then live on the How Songs Are Made podcast channel, which you can also find at the link in the description. And all of the audio episodes, after they get edited, after we make these, you can find at howsongsaremade.podcast.com. And now, their new album, The Singularity, Phase 2 Xenotaph, will be out June 9th on Nuclear Blast. Please welcome my buddy, SYMMETRY's Per Nilsson.
How's it going, Trey?
Yo. I can't see you. Okay, hang on a second.
Oh, shit.
Suddenly you disappeared. Wait for it. The source in... Keep talking. Well, how are you doing? Well, I'll fix this while...
Yeah, I'm doing
Oh, there
good.
it is. There it is. I fixed it.
Finishing up my late night dinner. So it's all good.
I would say
enjoying
that
some pasta here.
that looks really good. I hear you're a good cook.
Yeah.
I would say that it's weird to eat on a podcast, but I eat on the stream all the time. It's mostly weird that it's like 10 o'clock in Sweden.
You know, on my OnlyFans, I never take a break to eat. I just,
You just keep eating.
Fans like to watch me go.
Only foods.
Yeah, mostly. Keeping it
Sexy Per Nilsson mukbang. I would. All right. I didn't know. I'm gonna go subscribe right now. Hold on.
Yep. All's good in the hood.
Hell yeah, dude.
How have you been? It's been a while.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to think the last time I saw you IRL. It must have been on the boat. Maybe.
Big bad boat.
Yeah, on 70K when you were with Meshuggah. That was a fun time.
It was, yeah.
I think you were SYMMETRY played there once, right? Am I crazy?
No, we played there the year before. We are talking about the 70,000 tons of metal cruise. If people don't know what we are going on about.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that means
and
that
I'd love to come
out
back. What a
2 years in a row.
Crazy hang,
dude! Isn't it the best? It's the best thing. Fucking 3,000 metalheads on a boat in the middle of the Caribbean. Crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a few of us in the band got home from that one you were on. We got home to the worst flu we've ever had.
Oh no.
Yeah, my fever was through the roof. Like I've never had that high fever, like dangerously high. And I stopped breathing. Like
Jesus.
My wife was like, how's it going? Like, yeah. So yeah, I had to go to the ER and they pumped me full of stuff and they poked me in the nose with this long stick, which everyone has experienced now with COVID, right?
Yeah.
So when COVID hit and I was like, so I had that bad thing, and now there's this thing that's supposedly worse. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna hibernate until the thing is over.
Holy crap, dude.
Yes.
Well, we're glad that
it was good. Good times turned into bad times, and back to good times, and it's the ebb and flow of this existence.
Well, I'm glad that the good times didn't kill you, and you're back now with some new singles. From the upcoming album from SYMMETRY, 9 years in the making.
Indeed.
The Singularity 2, which people have been very hotly anticipating since you released the Singularity Phase 1, which of course is like, that's a a little bit of a dangerous proposition to have something called like part 1. That's because it implies that
Sure.
there will be further parts, and then it's once again building the anticipation, which is good. But now now it's finally come to fruition. So here on the podcast, there's really only one question, and all the rest of them are follow-ups. And the question is, what is your usual songwriting process like, and how was it similar or different for the process of this new album?
Well, for the trilogy, we've done something we never did in the past, because all of the previous albums were just like kind of written. We just started writing songs, and then lyrics came about later, and like it just ended up with what it ended up in. But for the trilogy, we decided, before even having written one note or one word, we decided like that it was gonna be a trilogy and it's gonna be a concept thing. And then Henrik, our drummer and lyricist, he came up with a synopsis, like outlining the storyline for the entire thing. So we had Neo Humanity, the first album. We had that, like what we wanted that to be, and then I shaped my idea of what that would be around, like the vibe of the synopsis for it, and I tried to write music that I felt appropriate for it, and I did the same thing for this album. I just went with the synopsis and tried to do what felt appropriate. And like, speaking of like doing a trilogy, I started thinking about a little bit about the movie world, and one of the most the best, the greatest trilogies of all time is, of course, the original Star Wars saga.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly enough, George Lucas, he promised us a trilogy of trilogies, right?
Yeah.
That was like what he proposed, I guess. Like that was his. Maybe he had some other idea, but I read something that it was supposed to be 9 movies, and it took him a while to fulfill the prophecy, right?
You could say that again. Like, that's, with no exaggeration, a while.
Yeah. So anyway, so the Star Wars saga, I guess, like the first film is a little bit of a standalone thing, but then it turns into a trilogy, and the second part is a little bit darker, right? The Empire Strikes Back. There's some cliffhangers it ends with and stuff like that, and it's just like a bit of a darker vibe in it. So and that's what I was going for with this album. I was gonna let it be darker and heavier and more blast beats and stuff like that. Just stuff that we've always had, but now I could have more of them.
Mm-hmm. Just
the,
leaning into that aspect of what you've already got.
yes, there's still a big serving of cheese on top of everything, but
Well, what I've always liked about what you guys do is that you have what I would describe as some strong power metal, or just like melodic metal choruses and parts and stuff, but it never sounds cheesy to me. I don't know, maybe I just have a high tolerance for cheese because I do love power metal, but I like that you guys always had that sort of like big harmonies and anthemic kinds of choruses, but they were always more interesting than the basic power metal schlock, and harmonically more interesting, and also somehow avoided the cheesy cliches. And that, to me, put you guys head and shoulders above a lot of the bands doing similar things.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I come from a different place than some other songwriters or something. I'm not sure, but I mean, I grew up as being a metalhead and listening to all the classic stuff, but I quickly ventured into other realms that interested me, and pop music, fusion, classical music, whatever I liked listening to, or anything that sort of turned me on. I investigated and put it into my vocabulary somehow. So yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
What?
it's the stuff that I want to hear, I suppose.
The new single has some very the main riff that you demonstrated in a video is actually pretty black metal sounding. You've got your guitar hooked up. Can you
Yeah.
play it for us so that we this is something new. We've never had somebody play guitar on I figured it'd be pretty cool.
First, I'm eating dinner on the podcast, and now I'm tuning.
That's live, baby.
I'm an amateur, and I don't have my guitar tech with me. So, all right. So, what's that? The verse? Yeah, like the start of the song. Before the verse, it has kind of a riff that is similar to the verse. Yeah.
Nice.
I like it. It's evil.
Yeah, very, very evil sounding. And, like, obviously your music is easily described as progressive. So really any kind of influence from other styles of music won't feel weird. Like, it doesn't sound like, I don't know, like, oh, where did that come from? Suddenly, you've got a lot of different kinds of sounds in your music, and it just is like, okay, cool. We're taking a little detour into black metal today. So I thought that was really cool, and it's very aggressive and dark sounding, and it fits the vibe of the rest of the song, but also it goes lots of different places. So can you tell us maybe a little bit about how this song came to be? Like, what was the inception? Like, was it based on that riff or what?
I mean, I actually wrote most of the songs in 2016.
Oh wow!
So yeah, so this stuff is vintage already. Yeah, so I can't really remember all the details, but I know that like that riff was something that I had. I usually don't save riffs in a big bag like some people do. They have like, we're gonna make a new album and we are gonna look at all the riffs and then they have 5,000 riffs, and then like I don't know if like James Hetfield does that. I think like Metallica does that. I'm not sure, but anyway, but that was a riff that I actually had written many years before, but it never turned into a song. So, and then I just decided to use it, and I guess that was the thing that led to the song. I had another riff, like the mid section.
I love those chords.
Something I had saved up. Yeah, so I was like, maybe I can fit these two very like polarized elements in the same song.
What do you?
They happen to be in the same key and this sort of the same tempo.
That chord. Play that first chord again. How do you think of that chord? Like, what would you call that? Because that's like my favorite chord, and I always have a hard time like figuring out where to put the root, because you could look at it a lot of different ways. But what would you call that?
Yeah, I mean, if you only do the voicing like that, then I guess it's like context. depending on the context.
Yeah.
If I would start like, it will feel like a B minor, add the flat 6 or something that you resolve. But in this case, when I put the B down, I have like this part of the thing, like to me that like constitutes a B major chord. It doesn't have the fifth, but like, it's still, you wouldn't expect anything else than the fifth. And then on top, well, you have the fifth there, but on top you have a F sharp major chord. So I sort of think of this. I think of this as a B major 9 chord, and it's voiced with as a F sharp triad over a B.
Got it. And that, so in the context of the song, that's what it is for that. And then, cool.
And I love these kinds of polychords.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's you don't hear a lot of that in a metal context, you know, but it fits really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had these two ideas. How generally do you take it from that to the, the full final product? Like, where does it go from there?
Usually I just try to let one idea move into the next one. I often write in sort of a, like in an orderly fashion, one riff at a time, the way it ends up in the song.
Oh, like chronologically?
Yes.
Sweet.
Chrononautolously.
I was just gonna make that joke. Chrononautologically. Okay. So you kind of.
I mean,
yeah.
So I had that riff with a minor chord, and then I decided to have that as like a dramatic intro thing, and then have the actual verse with vocals, skip that minor third, and just do power chord. But end on a little minor chord. So I just felt it was needed to like scale it down a little bit for when the vocals hits, and then I probably felt like starting the song with, I wanted to have something before, so I came up with that riff. Yeah, and then I probably added a little thing before, which is the very first part of the song. And then I came up with the pre-chorus thing, which sounds very Norwegian to me. It's almost has that feeling of that Satyricon song. Like, they have a riff that so it's not the same riff, but it's kind of a similar vibe.
Yeah, I like how you like drop out the like bass and stuff in that section. I think it kind of like comes down a little bit.
Yeah.
What's the word? Just it's not as full bore everything. You bring it down so that when
I wanted it to feel more what do you say, more primitive.
Okay.
In a way, like that's, I mean, it sounds very like kind of polished as the rest of the thing anyway, but that was my idea for it.
Okay, so you're
and there's not all these shiny keyboards on top either.
Right. So you're as you're writing, you're thinking of it mostly from a guitar standpoint as you're going through and coming up with these parts. Are you mostly thinking riffs, or are you also thinking like I don't know, like arrangement wise and all of that? Are you putting down like for example, like programmed drums or something as you're writing, or
Yeah. I usually, for everything I come up, I just immediately program drums. Sometimes I add some sort of keyboard right away because to me, like I want to sound, want to make it sound appetizing right away.
mm-hmm.
So because then that can that can trigger something else. Like if the part sounds kind of like it's supposed to sound,
Yeah.
if I'm lucky, it will segue me into the next thing. And and also it's like sometimes, like for example, the ending of that. This, I'm setting up a modulation because this thing is in B, and then it like I'm setting up a dominant and to yeah to raise the key
Mm-hmm.
a whole tone uh,
Yeah.
to the chorus, and I'm a big fan of modulating and moving in between keys. There's and I think like I sometimes I listen to like random bands new album that's popular, and then I hear like all the songs are in the same key, and it stays in the same key throughout the entire song, and that can work really well too. That's also a vibe. But for me, I'm a little bit too restless musically. I need something to happen. Yeah, so I that's also something I'm always keeping in mind, like trying to see if I can set things up for modulation.
It's always more dramatic to have a key change. Like that's one of
Yes.
the most dramatic things that you can do, and if you do it really well, it can really elevate the song, especially going into the chorus. Like that's a huge exciting move to hear.
Hmm. Yes. There's just many ways you can do it.
Um so do you usually go through and write the entire structure before you present it to other members of the band or show it to other people that you're working with on it, or do you will you send
Yeah,
them snippets or
it's
whatever?
it's pretty much always the finished song, like musically finished, and I do like the vocal arrangement as well, and I record myself singing and growling with the worst growling voice known to man. I sound like a depressed, ill dog that needs to be put down. Yeah, it's really horrible, but it does the trick. It's like it gives Henrik an idea for how to write the lyrics, and I often end up writing some kind of lyric, just like a placeholder, so that I can sing actual words, and I try to come up with sounds that I prefer for
Mm-hmm.
parts. If you have if you're gonna end a chorus on a high note, you want to have the right kind of vowel. You don't want to be like ee. Yeah, you want to be like oh, something that's has more girth and body to it.
Girthy
Yeah,
vowels.
girthy vowels. Will you accept my girthy vowels? So, anyways, uh, Henrik, he is a lyric writing genius. He's so incredibly good, and very often his lyrics, even though they have often deep meaning, and they are often like kind of poetic as well,
Mm-hmm.
and they sound cool. But he uses like the vowels and the stuff that I used. So it's like often very close, and it's like I can use whatever like sounds I want, and he just makes it into something that works.
Wow. So he works around whatever you've presented and
Yeah,
still delivers the goods in terms of
yeah.
lyrics that are
Well,
meaningful.
for the clean vocal parts, he's really tries to use the kinds of sounds I used. For the growl parts, he takes a little bit more liberty because it's easier to change that around, and sometimes it's not as important as the clean vocal parts because it's only the rhythmic aspect, it's not the melodic aspect.
Right.
So
You don't have to worry about writing harmonies for the for the growls.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you're sending out fully fleshed out versions of these songs with big arrangements of vocals and everything, and then Henrik is creating lyrics based on what you're sending, but also that are telling this story that you guys worked out when you first decided to make it a trilogy.
Yes, it's pretty cool.
So once he's got that and has you know written these lyrics, what's generally happens next?
uh, we start recording it. So that's because the lyric thing is often it's kind of late in the game. Sometimes even after we have started recording
Oh
stuff.
wow.
Sometimes like I write songs up until we have the first day of drum recordings. So
Oh wow.
and yeah, and on this album and on phase one as well, there are one song in each album that it wasn't a song when we recorded it. Sounds strange, but both these songs uh, had well on Neo Humanity, the song Spiral Time Shift, it had one riff only that I had written. I didn't know what to do with it, and I hadn't managed to make a song out of it. So we recorded drums for that riff, and then I just had Henrik record a bunch of different like drum rhythms uh, in the same tempo, and things like maybe it could start like with 60 notes on the kicks and have the snare on 1 2 3 4 and maybe that could be a riff, and then the next thing I can do that, and maybe like be sparse on the kick drums here, and then we'll record some extra kick drums and I can drop in if I need an extra. So that song was actually kind of copy pasted together with the drums, and then much later I finished up all the riffs and the rest of it. And there's a
Wow.
song on the new album called Reichsfall uh, that I did the same thing, but I didn't have any riffs at all. I actually I recorded two songs worth of drums that I then pieced together and came up with riffs for,
Wow.
and and those like only one ended up on the album, but that song doesn't sound all that much different or better or worse than any of the others. So it's kind of an interesting way of doing it.
Yeah, well, it's also interesting that you could go about it so differently and still wind up with essentially the same product or the same something that sits with all the others in a way that makes sense and doesn't feel out of place. That's
Yeah,
pretty wild.
it's it's a little bit. It could use a little bit more like more interesting like fills and stuff that we couldn't put in there, and so so I guess the song might be a little bit more boring on the drums than the others.
Yeah.
more boring. That sounded like the others were already boring, but this was more boring.
Much more boring than all the other
Yeah,
very
yeah.
boring tracks.
I think I could have put that in a better way. But I'm sorry, Henrik, if you listen to this. I love you, man. I think you're awesome. All your fills are God. They come from God. All that.
So,
Yeah.
but you're so then Henrik is he's writing these lyrics and all the drum parts, basically, right? Because he's the drummer.
Not really. He mostly plays the stuff I wrote.
Oh, okay.
So. And I mean, sometimes he has ideas like maybe I can do the China here and do that rhythm, and I'll do this fill instead. And sometimes he just copies the fills I made because they just make perfect sense for the riff or whatever.
Yeah. So he's making variations on what you wrote, but sticking pretty close to it.
Yeah, there's no like let's do this in like reggaeton instead or something.
So then you're getting pretty detailed with the programming as you're going, or do you lay down something basic and then go back later and tweak it to be more specific?
Sometimes I manage to just leave stuff and move on to the next thing to be faster, but often I find myself going straight into details, which hampers the creative thing a little bit, because there's like I don't need to worry about the velocity of the ghost notes on the snare. No, that's I mean I'm not even gonna use that performance. It's gonna be real drums later. So
sometimes you gotta sell
I like
it to
for the
yourself,
demos
though.
to be kind of detailed anyway. So
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you like really need proof of concept to keep going, to like decide that it's going to be, like a certain way so that you can continue.
Indeed. Yeah. But like, I think it's funny, like the whole way, like how I need to set myself up to be able to write, like when I write on my own, like I need to feel good. I need to be like, I had something nice to eat and a cup of coffee or tea, and I'm in a good mood, and nothing bad happened that day, so I feel really good, and then something good can come out. But if I'm like cranky or whatever happened in life, and I'm not feeling like it, it's just usually there's no need for me to even try. So like I really want to feel good when I do it. But sometimes when I was writing an album with a friend of mine, where we were coming up with, like, we were writing like a kind of progressive metal thing. It's called Beyond the Catacomb. It's out on Spotify, and it's a kind of cool album. But we wrote it together, and I wanted to write it with my friend Daniel Palmqvist, Swedish guitar player. So we were in my studio, and like, let's do this together. We had a couple of beers or something and had a good time, and then I didn't want to come up with the first idea. I wanted like to try to see what I could get out from him. So I like always little, I had the producer's hat on. Mm-hmm. So I just said to him, like, play me something, and he was like, what? Like, just play me something, whatever, like a metal riff. And he played something that was like almost inexcusably lame, like super lame. But my response, instead of being like, oh, fucking hell, man, you suck, I was like, and he doesn't suck, but that could be an approach. But instead I was like, that sounds killer. Let's record it. Let's track it one more time and put it in stereo. And then I programmed some drums. And like, okay, now we have a first riff. Then where do we go from here? And then he moved his fingers to another place, and we had a tempo, we had like a first key, we had some drums, so he just took it from there and came up with another riff, and that second riff was a lot better. That was like a really good riff, and then I just kept like I told him like, oh, okay, so go to B minor, like so let's do the chorus in B minor, do some chords, and he did some chords, and the song was done in like 40 minutes or so. So like the riffs, it was super quick. So he was like his hair was standing on edge, and he was like, what happened? Was confused. This has never happened to me, and it was all like coming from that first riff, and then I showed him like that first riff. I think you forgot about it because I put it over there. Like it wasn't even like in the line of riffs for the song. At some point I just, when we were rearranging the things, so I just tossed that riff away because it wasn't good enough. But just getting started and just diving into it, creating something that then can lead to the next thing, that was that was kind of illuminating for me as well. And this was like a whole bunch of years back, so it's something that I've had with me since. I didn't have that kind of didn't have this insight when I wrote this album, but I think it's a nice little bedtime story for the listeners out there.
So it's almost like the Stone Soup analogy. I don't know if you've you guys had this book in Sweden. Yeah, okay. So you just start with nothing-ish just to get it going, and then to wet the whistle or whatever, prime the pump.
Yes.
Get it cranking. So, but you're saying that when you write, you have to be in the right mindset. You have to be in a good place mentally. You don't write your what's it called? Like you don't write your bad feelings when you're going.
No. And some people are like that. I've heard that they do their best work when their life is a struggle. It's like all inner turmoil, and amazing art pours out of them. For me, it's not like that. It's like if I'm generally a pretty happy and content person, so it's not like I have a problem with a lot of down days.
Yeah.
But when I have, I don't write. Like in those cases, I might play guitar. I just might be sitting with the guitar and I improvise. So I'm actually creating at that time as well. I'm just not doing something that anyone else will hear. Nothing that could turn into something.
Yeah.
So I guess in that sense, I'm sort of pouring my feelings out there. It's just not for anyone else to hear.
When you're in a good place and you're writing, when you've got yourself in the mental space where you're feeling good about writing and you're on, are you ever referencing like darker times or times that you didn't feel good, like thinking about them as reference material? Or
No, I actually don't. Listening to music for me, as it is for most people, I suppose it can be a very, very emotional thing. There's certainly music that like I almost can't listen to it because like just tears just start pouring out from weird places. But I don't know, my process isn't connected so much to my own feelings in that way. I mean, sometimes if I write something when I feel like, oh, these chords are really sad, but it's not like I'm thinking of that cat I had that tragically passed. I don't connect that, I just like, oh, this is kind of a sad feeling, but yeah.
Okay. Cool. So let's see. your in the process of how you typically do things, we've covered sort of the inception, riff generation, and let's see. So, writing lyrics, drums. So you're writing keyboard parts for all of these songs as well, and playing them on the albums. Yeah, which is
Yeah.
crazy because I hear you like playing keyboards, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? This guy plays keyboards that well too? Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Save some for
Yeah,
the
well,
rest of us, bro.
most of the keyboards on the album isn't played live.
Oh,
Some of
okay.
it for sure is, but like sometimes there's like crazy arpeggios and stuff, and that's all programmed.
Oh, okay, good. That makes me feel better
Yeah,
about myself.
so I'm a total bullshit keyboard player. I
Um,
like to sometimes write on keyboards. I sometimes like to like flesh out chord progressions and stuff. Uh, and sometimes it can be very inspiring if you have a really cool keyboard sound, like something that sounds like an album already. You know, you
yeah.
take one note and it's like, "Dawn!" It's like, wow.
What are you generally using for your keyboard sounds?
Uh, I have a Nord stage that's behind me here. That when I for playing live stuff, live parts, uh, and then I have just like a bunch of different uh, plugins. I used like an old Korg Korg Legacy bundle, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Has some wave station, some like old 80s
Oh yeah.
stuff that I kind of like, and I have like symphonic libraries that no one uses anymore. I don't really stay up to date with stuff.
I mean, it's an endless rabbit hole. Like if you'd never write anything else. You'd spend all your time fucking around with libraries instead.
Yeah, indeed.
And you wouldn't have any money to live. It's outrageous and endless. Like I I have to like cut myself off. Like I'll get something new and like start screwing around with it, and like 3 hours later I'm like, oh, I forgot to write music. I'm just like,
Hmm.
ooh, what's this preset? What's this one? Ooh, this makes
Yeah.
cool sounds.
And
And you think like
isn't
I
it
could use this for something later, and then you just don't.
Yeah, I mean, I've some of the stuff, some of these things have so many presets, so many patches that it's like impossible to go through them all. And sometimes, like maybe there's that amazing whatever that I haven't tried yet. It could be like the best thing for my music ever. Then I try to go through everything, and I write down like the 11B and 73, and it's just hopeless.
Yeah, and
But
it never gets any
isn't
better.
it like, yeah, but for me also, like I can totally go down that rabbit hole, but sometimes it's even worse with like trying to start to mix like the songwriting template, whatever that you're using. Like, oh, maybe I also have to change the compressor settings. I'm gonna automate this, and I start doing that for like for really no reason. It sounds good enough for a demo that no one's ever gonna hear.
Yeah, it's your procrastinate mixing,
Yes.
procrastinations, product. There's a got to be a word in there. Procrastinate production time. That
Yes.
yeah, it's a kind of a weird time for us as songwriters and music creators of any kind, because we have the possibility to be going down these rabbit holes comparatively pretty easily and cheaply. Like everybody's got access to some kind of DAW, even just included plugins and free stuff. You can get crazy
Yeah.
good sounds. You could spend your time being a producer rather than a writer easily. But yeah, lots of easy distractions. Which actually leads me to a question that I had, which is kind of maybe a bit of a tough one, but I know that people want to know. And as someone who started writing and recording started recording an album 4 years ago that is just now going to mastering, I'm asking you this question with no judgment and no of any kind. But 9 years since the last Scar Symmetry album, what made this one take so long to come out?
Yeah. What's up with that, bro?
What's up with that, bro?
I mean, I caught hints of judgment.
No, none.
Yeah, I did. The world has been judging me for a long time.
Oh, you probably caught a lot of judgment from a lot of other people, but I get asked the same question, and yours is coming out. It has a release date.
Oh shit! Yeah. What is your for? Is that for your band?
Yeah, for my band.
Yes.
In Virtue. Check us out on
In Virtue.
everything.
Is that the one you sing on that?
Yes.
Yes.
That's
I
me.
remember the first time I heard you sing. It pissed me off a little bit. Not only is this man gorgeous, but he sings like a god.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. And I think you can use that for later when you do
I'm
this
clipping
as
it
publish this as an
right now.
audio podcast. You can like use this for the promotional bit or whatever.
Yes. Scar Symmetry's
Yes.
Per Nilsson says I am both handsome and a great singer. So
Yes.
fuck yes. Thank
Yeah,
you so much. I appreciate that.
Yes, I mean it was coming from my heart. It was coming from that place. But I'm feeling like maybe I was evading the subject a little bit.
Bought
I'm
yourself
actually
some time to think about it.
Yeah, I'm in interview mode for the new album. So I'm actually getting this question daily, and it's nice, and it's it's a valid question. So here we go. I'm gonna try to answer it, and also because I answered it so many times, I also want to try to not say the exact same words that I did, because sometimes I'm like just repeating, regurgitating the thing I said an hour ago. But yeah, so I wrote the songs in 2016. We actually meant this to be a trilogy of EPs. Like the whole idea of doing a trilogy was that I felt like maybe we shouldn't do full albums because it takes so much time, and it's just like I felt I didn't have the energy. I didn't feel like it. So we wanted to do EPs, but then when we had the synopsis and we started working, it was like, shit. It's not going to be EPs. It's like the first album is like 43 minutes or so. So it's not a long album, but it's not an EP either. So, and then the next album took 2 years to before I even started writing. I wrote it pretty quickly, but then I suppose I was in a place where after having done the band for well over a decade, I was feeling a little bit of a burnout. Every time we toured, anything we did, I was always like the touring manager, the business manager. I was handling all the gear, basically everything for the band. Was on me, and I was feeling a little bit of a burnout. And maybe a little bit of sort of falling out of love with the whole thing. I don't know. I don't really have the best words to describe it, but I was just not feeling to finish recording the album. I felt like I need to do something else for a bit, and also, I was thinking to myself like I would want to play with another band for a bit. I would like to go out and tour with another band where I can just be the guitar player for a bit, just enjoy myself, play my little guitar, do my thing, and not have to worry about any business thing, not anything of that, and then bands started contacting me, and I never had any offers before that, so it was kind of a weird thing. It's but almost like I was knocking on the big boss door, or the big boss of unexpectable events. I don't know what this sounds like. It turns into a religious thing, but it's not. But anyway, I was contacted by a pretty big band uh, for doing a tour, and I turned them down because it wasn't really my music, and then I got the call from Nocturnal Rites, the legendary classic Swedish power metal band, and they were like, we're gonna come back after 10 years. Their previous guitar player, he had gone to Sabaton, so they didn't have a lead guitar player. So like, would you like to join and do an album? And I was like, sure, power metal. That's gonna be like tons of solos, and it's all gonna be like super epic, major, minor, nothing weird, no fusion stuff, just like
Yeah.
high notes and sweep arpeggios and stuff. So I said, yeah, sure, let's do it, and I did it. And then a few weeks later, I get a text message from Thomas from Meshuggah, like, hey man, Thomas from Meshuggah here, blah blah blah. Anyway, could you do one tour with us? And I was like, holy shit. Okay, so I suppose that was kind of a big deal, and it came down like a little bomb in my little life. Yeah, so obviously I said yes, as the history tells it, and that turned into a thing that lasted for several years. And Nocturnal Rise wasn't as busy touring as Meshuggah was, but we did quite a few shows in 2018. So I got my hands full with exactly the thing that I thought I needed, and that I needed, like. And especially with Meshuggah, I only, I went to the rehearsals, and then like, well, let's go on tour, and I brought some clean underwear and a toothbrush, and I showed up at the airport. All the gear, everything was taken care of. Didn't have to do anything. Got to stay at nice hotels, and they spoon fed me and and pampered me and all of that good stuff. So it was like when that thing was came to an end, and it was announced that Fredrik was coming back, I was like already started planning to bring SYMMETRY back and to return home. We never totally stopped as a band. Like every now and then I did some work on the album, and we sometimes did a few shows. So it was like really, really slow cooking. And then when Fredrik was announced that he was coming back to the band, I got an email from our record label, Nuclear Blast, like, "Hey Pat, are you coming back? We are very interested." And yeah, so that was like the final little nudge I needed to have my business partner, showing up and be like super excited. So I finished the album up, and here we are, talking to Trey Xavier about it.
And that brings us to the present moment.
Yes.
Yeah, good. Well, I think that's...
But it's crazy that it's 9 years. It's absolutely bonkers crazy.
I'm sure it doesn't feel like it. You spent spent the time on it, and you had all this time in between, but you were doing a lot of things that were, related. You're playing music, you're doing that kind of stuff, and it makes time go by very quickly.
Yeah, sure. And to top things off, I mean, after the Meshuggah thing, I went straight into becoming a dad. My son was born in 2019, and then we all know what happened in 2020.
And now he's off to college. It's crazy.
Yes.
It's been that long.
A little bit like that. Yeah. Well, he's in preschool, so he's started his like academic
baby
journey.
College.
Yes. Exactly.
Wow.
yeah, so for me, I had that thing, and the pandemic is really a weird time. It doesn't fit in the rest of my timeline in a way. I know a lot of people feels like that. It's like, was that just like we blinked and it was over, or was it 20 years? I don't know.
Well,
So
maybe we're already plugged into the Matrix. Maybe the story you're telling about, I mean, I don't know the details of the story, but the the singularity's already happened, and and Skynet's got us plugged into the Matrix. None of that is from the same from the same series. But speaking of trilogies, there's one, the Matrix trilogy. Maybe that's the one that actually came true, and we're thinking all this time is passing, but really we're batteries, and you know, having all of this fed to us,
yes,
and it's your fault. The AI read the lyrics to the first album, and they were like, "Oh, that's a great idea.
yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that."
Oh, that's what they want us to do.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, we just got to give them what they want. Like, they've programmed the AI to be helpful, useful. Let's give them something. It's going to be great, you guys. So, let's see. Wow, you've got this album is I mean, 9 years in the making ish. It's like you said, not spending every minute of it, of that actually on it or whatever. You're putting in a lot of time in the front end, and then a little bit here and there, and then so when you actually went in to finish it for the release, what state was it in? Like, how finished was it? Was there anything that like you said, there was one song that you are working on as you're recording drums. But
that song was, I had the drums sitting. It was actually two songs that only were drums, and
Okay.
I ended up using one of them.
Gotcha.
And that one was just sitting for a long time. So I can't remember when I finished it, if it was in 18 or 19 or so. But when I got that message from Nuclear Blast asking, like, they wanted to re-sign us, our deal had expired with that former previous album. The album was very close to being finished. I can't remember exactly what was left to record. Maybe I had some solos and some just like extra stuff that I knew that I wanted to do but I hadn't done yet.
Okay.
So, but I sort of added small details up until the very end that I suddenly, like, oh shit, like the last song, the Cenotaph, there's a little melody played like on strings, and it wasn't popping out, so that, like, before finalizing the mix, I just sat in front of the microphone and I did like, oh, and I just did my own little choir that I brought in just to enhance it, and then I was like, oh shit, there's the song.
There it is.
That was the final thing that for me it glued the chorus together. It was already sounding epic, but it was just something, and then
It's like
I
the
got
dude's
it,
rug. It just pulled the whole room together.
yes, exactly. And I mean, that wouldn't have happened. Some of these things wouldn't have happened if I would have finished the album up many years ago. But so I don't know. Like,
So you had the majority of it not just written but tracked. You'd already tracked the drums and the other stuff.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, bass, rhythm guitars, vocals. Most of it was tracked pretty early on.
So, at what point do you write the solos for the songs? Are you just leaving space in the in the arrangements when you write them in the beginning, or are they like integral to the writing process, or are they more like an afterthought, or what?
I mean, I write the solo parts when I write the song. So when I write them with some kind of idea of what I want to do, or at least it's like what kind of scales and things I'm gonna use. It's like I know myself, so I know if I put these chords together, I'm gonna probably do it like this.
Yeah.
And I try to set things up harmonically in my solo parts, so that I can pull out some interesting things in my leads later. But I don't actually record the solos until late. Usually that's among the last things I do. So
Okay.
so yeah, so everything else is already there, already there. Sorry, the vocals and keys and everything else. So I
Do you like very sort of specifically compose your solos, or is it a lot of improv, or what's your general approach?
it's a little bit of both. It's like if it's the solo part that's has the right kind of groove, and if it's not too complex harmonically, so it makes sense to just have that kind of improvisational flow through it. It can be improvised, like parts of it, or in some rare cases, like the entire thing can be improvised. And often I just press record and I play something, and if it's not good, I do it again, and if it's good, I keep it. And if I do I fuck up a few notes at the end or something, I might just punch those in to make the end of the thing what it needs to be. And for other solos, I want to be a bit more elaborate to, yes, like to bring out like everything I want to have, like solos that modulate a lot, where I change keys and stuff. I sometimes use like some sort of harmonic device to modulate from one key to another, and then I want to, yeah, to make the best of that in the solo as well. And during those times I sometimes write like one part at a time, and I'm very specific, or I improvise a little bit, like just a snippet at a time. I just like set a punch in time, and I have a pre-roll for a couple of bars, and I listen back to what I have so far, and then I come in, and I improvise. So
Okay.
it's a little bit of a mix of things.
There's a second guitar player in the band now, Benjamin Ellis, who's been in the band
Yep.
since I want to say I met him with you guys on the boat at least in 2017, and I think he was pretty new then.
He did the first tour with us in 14. He was actually filling in for me on a few dates.
Oh,
we had a very loved friend of our family who passed, and I really wanted to attend the funeral with some very important people to me. So
yeah.
so I knew Ben from touring with his previous band, Bloodshot Dawn. So I knew that he was an amazing player. And we have sort of kind of similar styles in a way. So I asked him, and he filled in for me on really short notice, and like he learned all the solos and everything. So it was really amazing. And then the next year, in 15, we had a tour that we did, and we didn't have a second guitar player. So I asked him if he wanted to not be me and be the other guy instead for that tour. And then he did that. And then in 16, we did some tours, and he became an official member then.
So does he play any solos on the album?
He does. But thing is that the music was written before he became a member.
Right.
So the songs was all written with like only me on lead guitars in mind. So later on, I had to sort of make room. Obviously, I gave him some of the solo parts that I had intended to play, but there was a lot of parts that I was already sort of married to them, like because there was like what I'm told you about, like sometimes I'm setting up harmonic things and that I'm like I can't wait to start playing over this. so I suppose I gave him some of the parts that weren't as dear to me, and not that they are worse or anything, might be better even, but he got the ones that I didn't wasn't as enthusiastic about, and then I just crammed in some more solo parts, like
Yeah.
he's got a short lead in Chrono Nautilus, the newest single we have released. So he has a really short solo, and that was actually a vocal part, and it was just like the same lyric as previous in the songs. I just removed it and put in a solo, and I think it's for the better of the song. So I did a few of those things. So like I have during the intro riff of the song, instead of just being an intro riff, we just solo on it.
Yeah.
But it's quite a bit of lead action going on.
Yeah. Well, I bet that probably makes him feel very welcome. To be like, we're gonna make some space for you to do your thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And it'll probably make for a bit more fun live shows too. He'll probably be very stoked to have his own spots, and watching you guys go back and forth will probably be pretty fun. It'll be a hoot.
Indeed.
Okay. So you mentioned Xenotaph is the title of one of the songs, and of course it's in the title of the album. What is a Xenotaph? What is it?
I wish I knew. It's whatever you want it to be.
No, don't tell me that.
It's a vessel that you fill with your own expectations. So I mean, I know that it's a little play on words.
Yes.
Because it's usually spelled with C.
Xenotaph, right. I knew that was a word, but I don't know what it is. We're both looking it up at the same time.
Yeah. It's like from a Greek word that means empty tomb. A cenotaph is a monument, sometimes in the form of a tomb, to a person or group of persons buried elsewhere.
Ah, okay.
So, yes, so we put an X in front of the Xeno, like something not of this earth.
Oh.
Or something.
Cool. Yeah, and that will make for some great SEO, because if you make up a new word and it only applies here, then boom. You've got a neologism and amazing SEO that will only, like, if somebody searches for that word, Scar Symmetry is going to go to the top. Scar Symmetry number 1.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people have used the word Chrono Nautilus either.
Oh, yeah. You guys are making up a whole new language over here.
Yeah, we're just coming up with whatever bullshit we can think of. I remember when we started the band and Henrik was coming up with a band name Scar Symmetry, and we were like, what's a Scar Symmetry? and he was like, I don't know. But and later in interviews he's been like talking about like we have in the music we have like the melodic side, and then we have the harsh brutal side, and we have these different elements, and the band name is reflecting that, with symmetry representing that, the melody and the nice things, and Scar being that other side. And I think that's just like an afterthought that he came up with, to just have something to say, to just not, because it sounds lame to be like, oh, I don't know.
It just sounds cool, bro.
But yeah, so in the beginning when we started releasing albums and stuff, like I was always googling Scar Symmetry because you're excited to hear what people think.
Hmm.
Uh, so we got uh, stuff about the band and about breast implants. So
And hey, that makes for a great session of Googling things. Either way,
yes,
you could be having a, having a great time. And now you'll get even more science um, than boobs, science, metal, a perfect connection and a great way to spend an afternoon on the internet.
indeed,
Um, s-
indeed.
so there's 2 singles out now from the album with music videos.
Yeah.
Chrono Nautilus being the one that just came out last week, right? Or
Yes.
yeah.
Last
Um,
Thursday.
and the album is due out in less than a month, June 9th, I believe it says in the
Yes.
whatever in the
Yeah. So a month tomorrow.
a month to what is today? Oh, it's the 8th. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So 9 years in the making. The people have been clamoring for it. Never lost hope. I mean, we had 80 plus people in here watching this stream. That they want it, and it's very exciting that it is on the way. You guys have some tours coming up to promote it.
Yeah, we just finished a Swedish tour that we did with Meshuggah. So we got asked to do an arena tour in Sweden, six shows, opening for Meshuggah, which was really nice because I haven't seen the guys in a while, so it was
Yeah.
nice to get some hang time as well. And that was like it coincided with the release of the first single. Released it on the day of the first show.
Oh,
So
that works out really well.
yeah, but it's like our release date got set so late. Like everything came together so late. We had some issues. We had an artwork artist lined up that dropped out after a long time. Like his mom passed,
Oh.
and he had like a lot of turbulence, and so we have he he had to drop the gig, and we had to find someone else. So we just had like this extra little nice unfortunate thing
Yeah.
that
Panic
delayed us
moment.
even like almost a year extra. So the release date came so late that like all the festivals, they are mostly booked like a year in advance. So we kind of missed out on this festival season, but we got some nice stuff
Cool.
lined up for the summer, and then
Anything else you wanna
and we
cover?
promise our North American fans that blah 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 blah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
You know?
saying. When do we get to have another meeting of the Bearded Egg Club?
Yes. Well, I've been in contact with our North American booking agent who wants to bring us over again, and we're talking to some people, and we're seeing if we are actually investigating if we can return to some international waters.
It's a rough time for touring. Everything I see is like how expensive it is now, people losing their ass and stuff. So I hope that you can do it. I don't want you to I don't want you to have to eat ramen for the rest of the year just so that you can come see me, but it might be worth it. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, we're planning a short European headlining tour in September, and we're getting offers like we're taking in for nightliner buses, and like, and when we're adding things up, like how much things cost nowadays, it's like twice as expensive. It's like, and the fees are not twice what they used to be.
Yeah.
It's like like all the venues, they were kind of fucked during the pandemic, obviously. Like, so
Yeah.
so what venues and promoters are still there? They are like, please, please, I want to feed my kids. I can only pay this much.
Oh,
So,
brutal, man.
but yeah, but I mean, we don't have anything else to do. We just want to go out and play and have a good time and rock out with our cocks out,
Well, I
like
can't.
we do in Sweden.
I hope to get to see those cocks a flapping.
Yes.
And so let me know if you if you wind up coming, so that I can hear some more. See your meatlies in real life. So huge thanks for taking the time today to do this interview with us. I love hearing your perspective, how you go about things, and of course,
It was all my pleasure, man. All my pleasure.
it's always nice to get to talk to you. Just we always have a great time. I think this is
Indeed.
probably like our third or fourth interview we've ever done, and it's always a hoot.
Yes.
So for the folks at home, be sure to go follow Per on all the social medias, as well as Scar Symmetry, so that when the everything else drops, the album, more singles, whatever, you will be first to know. If you are interested in hearing more from the How Songs Are Made podcast, there's a couple places to go. Number one, this and all other episodes will be available as audio podcasts on howsongsaremade.podcast.com. You can check the links in the description for that. Also, these streams, after they're done from here on out, will all be living on the still pretty new How Songs Are Made podcast YouTube channel, which is brand new. Everyone who's watching right now, if you want to see this again, and previous episodes and future episodes, click the link in the description to go to the new channel and subscribe there. Once this is edited as a final product, it will go up there. And if you haven't pre-saved the new album, which is, I wrote the name of this thing out like 5 times today, and I still, The Singularity Phase 2 Xenotaph. Go hit that as well. I'm gonna put a link in the description of this video when it's up as well. And Per, thank you so much for coming on, and hope to talk to you real soon.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
All right, my dude. See ya.
Recording
Recording stopped. All right, guys. Thank you all so much. Love talking to people on this podcast, learning about different ways that people write songs. If you want to learn more about how I write songs, check the link in the description for for my songwriting course, which is called Complete Rock and Metal Songwriting. You can also find out more about that, howsongsaremade.com. We also have merch for the podcast at howsongsaremade.podcast.com. And y'all have a great week, and I will talk to you real soon. Got more episodes of the podcast booked, and it's just going to get better. Just better and better. All right. Peace out, guys.